Hello, everyone. This is the Old Bear and the Old Bear's Den of Bigfoot. Tonight we're bringing you a story from, it comes out of Georgia, that I got last week. This story starts with a family buying a piece of property, approximately 150 acres. They had a piece of the land cleared to put a home on. And they had the home built, and this was about 5 years ago. For the first 3 years of being on the piece of property, they never had any trouble, never had anything going on, never heard any screams, never saw any Bigfoot. Then, about 2 years ago, the oldest son and the youngest daughter of the children, they had four children, were riding their four-wheeler out in the backyard next to the tree line. Well, a Bigfoot stepped out in front of them out of the tree line. Well, the oldest son took off towards the house. The mother was on the back deck and saw this thing and screamed. And their dad was in the front of the house trimming up the grass around the house and around the plants and everything they had in their front yard. He heard the mother scream, took off running to the back, and saw the Bigfoot turn and head into the woods. Well, they didn't have any trouble for a little while. They never saw nothing, never heard nothing again. And about 2 or 3 weeks went by, and then they saw another one come out from the wood line late in the evening because the mom and dad were sitting on the back deck and they saw it. Well, they just got up and walked in the house and made the kids, go in the front room and told them what was going on, and so they just didn't bother the thing, just let it go about its business. They didn't know what it was, so Dad did a bunch of investigating on the internet, looking for an explanation of what it might be. He thought it could be a bear. He didn't know for sure, didn't know what it was, until he came upon a bunch of pictures of Bigfoot on the internet. So he now knew what it was, and he was starting to get worried about, for his safety of his family. Anyway, they didn't have any more trouble, and then all of a sudden they started coming up and coming closer to the house. So he put out a couple of dusk to dawn lights in his yard. He put one out in his yard and then one out right next to the side of his house, and figuring that might take care of the problem because he'd read it somewhere on the internet that, putting lights out, they don't like lights, so they don't go in them. They don't seem to enjoy them. But anyway, it didn't work. And it didn't work for him, so the Bigfoot started coming around the house and getting closer to their house, and kept getting closer, and then they got to the point where they started slapping the house. And this took some time because I guess it took them a little while to get brave to do what they were doing. Anyway, they started slapping the house, started getting aggressive, and then one night, after about a year of them being around, they evidently the Bigfoot were standing outside of the windows of the master bedroom watching his wife go to bed at night after she gets out of the shower, and watching the oldest daughter, which was 16 years old. The wife turned the lights off and happened to see one standing right out there underneath the light that was on the side of the house, watching her go to bed, get undressed and ready for bed after taking her shower. And she called her husband and told her husband to come home. He needed to come home now, that they were standing outside watching her get undressed. that's not a good thing. Anyway, he left work and came home and couldn't find anything. Found footprints because evidently it had rained or dew had already fallen, and he found the footprints in the yard, because of the water on the grass, and they were easily seen in the light. Anyway, they went through the process of him getting his gun, going in the woods with his oldest son, and them taking guns and going in the woods and trying to find out where these things were at to try to run them off. They couldn't find out where they were staying in the woods. So they went. That was the next day, and then the time they were there was on a Friday night, and he worked doubles on Fridays so he could make a little extra money, so they could plan for their summer trips and vacations and everything of that nature. And the funny thing is the reason he bought the property is because it had quite a few deer on it. Well, the deer started getting less. They figured the Bigfoot were the reason that the deer population started going down. They may have been killing them or running them out or whatever. But anyway, the Bigfoot were starting to get aggressive and starting to watch his wife and his daughter when they were going to bed at night. And they started finding a substance on the ground outside their bedroom. The father was the first one to find it. He knew what it was, and I'm pretty sure everyone else can guess what it was. Evidently, the Bigfoot was standing outside watching his wife pleasure itself in the process of that. And they had seen by this time they'd seen a total of 5 of them. 2 of them were females. There was a big female, then a small female. And they knew they were female because they had, the breasts on the Bigfoot. And they had seen 3 males, 1 big male, and then 2 juvenile males. And they had trouble with, them outside watching his wife and daughter, and they were getting to the point where he took a Friday night off, came home after his first shift, and stayed outside. And one of the Bigfoot, he thinks it was the biggest one. He said it was about 9 foot tall, hair all over it, wide shoulders, probably 4.5 to 5 foot across, that came in the yard from the side of the yard out of the woods and started towards the bay window they had in their bedroom. Well, when he got close enough, he shot at it. It screamed and ran off. He doesn't know if he hit it or not, but he definitely made it leave. Anyway, they got to the point of these Bigfoot got angry because he shot at one of them. Well, evidently the big one, or maybe the big one and the juvenile males, came back to the house the next night, and he has a fireplace that's there in the middle of the house, because there's a family room that has a fireplace in it, and it separates the master bedroom from his oldest daughter's bedroom and his little girl's bedroom. They butt up against each other. Well, they got mad and started beating the bricks off the back of the fireplace. They heard the commotion, went outside with shotguns, and the oldest boy went with his daddy with a shotgun, and the father went out there, and these things were running at the far edge of the yard, and they shot in the air to scare them off, and they never came back. Well, a couple weeks went by, and now the things are coming up to the house, beating on the side of the house, and they are outside growling at night. And if the wife does not go to bed like she normally does and leave the light on and everything, the Bigfoot seem to get a little bit upset, and they destroy something. Well, it's gotten to the point where they have started throwing limbs and stuff in the yard, breaking them off from trees and throwing them in the yard, throwing rocks at the top of the house, hitting the roof with rocks from the wood line, And the distance between the house and the wood line, he told me, was about 75 to 80 feet. So it's gotten bad for them. They are at the point now where they're ready to leave the home. I tried to give him a little information to put out some game cams and stuff of that nature to help him out. Maybe that would deter them. It seems that if they see a game cam, they try to shy away from it. And told him to put out something that will make a loud noise if they trip it. You know, maybe a infrared beam or maybe fishing line or something of that nature, to where it would pull a pin on the screen, on the something that would put out loud screams or high pitched noises. They don't seem to like those either. So I'm going to contact this gentleman again this coming week and let him know, find out from him if anything helped. Short of having to kill these things, he doesn't want to have that trouble, because he knows if he kills one, it'll probably anger the rest, and he'll have to end up killing the rest of them. He doesn't want to do that. They want to fix this problem peaceably. And if anybody has any idea on how to stop these things and get them to stop coming around, he sure would appreciate it, and I'd appreciate it if you leave it in the comments. And in the description is my Discord channel, and I will also put in my email address, which is oldbearsden2019@gmail.com. You can email me, and I will pass the information on to him, or you can leave it in the comment section. All help will be appreciated, and y'all have a good evening, and have a happy 4th. That's why we're looking at the American flag, because of the Independence Day of the United States of America. Y'all have a blessed 4th, and bye-bye.